Hi there, everyone. I'm Brad Glasgow with Game Objective, and I am here to utterly deconstruct a really stupid cracked video. Let's take a look.
Hey America, I'm Crack Senior Editor Josh Sargent, and I'm here to talk about video games.
And stop right there. Now we can immediately see the problem. This is Jeff Sargent, Senior Editor at Cracked. Now, I'm not great at telling people's ages, but I'm pretty sure I have Toland older than this kid. And he's a senior editor at Cracked. Now, the problem isn't that he's a kid. There are good young writers out there. The problem is that new media has created an industry that prizes kids like this, not for their journalistic skill or their investigative abilities, but because they believe they are a gateway to all of that sweet, disposable millennial income. How do you speak to young people? By using people that look like them, or at least that's the prevailing wisdom. It's not about what they know, but how they can present it. Young people plus edgy presentation plus cool progressive message equals success. You know how they say that readers aren't the customers, they're the product? Cracked and websites like it are millennial factories. Real journalism be damned. In this video, he provides 5 arguments to justify his belief that gamers are holding the artistic medium of video gaming back. Gamers are over 2.0.
Specifically to say that we let them down, guys. They were supposed to be the future. Interactive storytelling was supposed to surpass movies as the new art form of a new generation, but we won't let it. We're holding them back because you can't admit that the level of violence in video games is smearing banana paste on your chest and calling yourself the King of France insane.
Oh God, here we go again.
Look, game bros and game ladies, I don't think violence in video games is a bad thing. I just think it's weird that it's the only thing.
Okay, that right there is an important sentence. There has emerged a new wave of criticism of violence in video games, and unlike Jack Thompson in the 90s and early 2000s, this time it comes from the progressive side of the political spectrum. The argument that violent video games are bad for people has been around forever, but this new wave has mostly come from the intersectional feminism of Anita Sarkeesian, who progressives have latched onto for some reason, mistaking her for an academic. One of the common strings of this new wave of criticism of violence in gaming is the quick qualification. I don't think violence in gaming is a bad thing, but it shouldn't be the only thing. You'll also see them concede that violent video games don't cause real-world violence, but they somehow reinforce violent culture. In other words, they realize there's no evidence that violent video games are at all harmful, but they don't like it. So they're going to speak out against it. They don't want to ban video game violence, but they would love it if developers who tend to be progressive would consider the cultural ramifications of their violence and maybe made some changes here and there. It's not Jack Thompson, but rather a weaselly, roundabout way to accomplish the same goal as Jack Thompson.
4 of the 5 best-selling games of 2015 are just about killing people. And when I say about, I mean the reason we play these games is so we can pretend to kill people. With guns, specifically. Because we don't want any innovation getting between us and scratching our murder itch. One Twitter user pointed out that at the 2016 E3 Gaming Expo, 89% of the games shown were about solving problems with violent retribution.
Okay, wait a minute. This isn't just one random Twitter user. This is Jonathan McIntosh, who used to be a partner in Feminist Frequency with Anita Sarkeesian. By any rational person's measure, he's a progressive extremist. He hates violent video games and believes American capitalism is the source of all the world's evils.
And people lost their shit at him just for saying that. Why?
Why? Let's take a closer look at these tweets from people he argues are losing their shit. I think some of these people are my followers, by the way. The top left one says there's a difference between 2 words and that it's incredibly lazy thinking. That doesn't sound at all hostile to me. Under that appears to be a sarcastic tweet, I think, which agrees with McIntosh. The next one goes on about Islamic terrorism, and it doesn't appear to be at all hostile. Now, the 4th one down appears to be somewhat important to the discussion. The Twitter user is arguing that McIntosh only represented a small subset of games at the E3. It's also not at all hostile. None of these tweets are really hostile, except maybe the one in the middle right where the guy says that Macintosh has a punchable face. Now, people didn't lose their shit, as Sargent claims. Or if they did, he didn't show it. Now, this is basic stuff here. Any child writing a school paper should know if you make a claim, you back it up.
He's literally doing math. That's gaming.
Okay, did he just seriously make the claim that statistics are inarguable?
If anybody watching isn't a games folk, and if so, rude, I want to point out that games can do a lot of stuff that isn't murder. There's The Sims. There's Minecraft. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. But
Portal, Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, Pokemon, nearly every racing game.
we gamers still choose to spend our gaming dollar almost exclusively on recreations of the most up we see in the news. Now look, I enjoy casual violence as much as I enjoy cigarettes or toilet hooch, but of course it's weird.
Wait, why is it weird? He never says, he just continues rambling on here.
When we pretend it doesn't look weird, that just makes us look more weird. Compare these games to the top 5 highest grossing movies of 2015. It's still mostly violence, but at least it's different kinds of violence.
Yeah, here he argues that at least there's lightsaber violence in Star Wars. Well, he did mention the Star Wars Battlefront in his list of video games. Huh.
We have laser sword fights, dinosaur fights, car and gun fights, superhero fights, and I didn't see minions, but I assume there's some graphic torture or something. I get it though. This is a sensitive topic for a lot of people because we remember a time when people were trying to make video games not a thing anymore. In the 90s, there was serious discussion about whether or not games were causing all the problems in the world and needed to be banned forever. Or at least it seemed that way to us because we were kids and didn't realize that these kinds of controversies happen like once a decade and always end up being as ephemeral and meaningless as, say, Piers Morgan.
It's funny because he doesn't realize he's the one now making that argument.
But today, we spend $25 billion a year on video games. $25 billion! That's 4 times more than we spend on guns, and look at how powerful the gun industry is. We're an important part of the economy now. So at the risk of sounding cynical, even if scientists wearing lab coats and speaking in European accents conclusively proved that video games caused real-world violence, they probably still wouldn't take them away. Because gaming is expensive enough now to be a rich people hobby, and rich people hobbies can be literally anything. We're safe. Who cares? So let's just go full punk rock and admit that gaming is super f***ed. The anger thing probably isn't a coincidence.
Finally, the next argument. Okay, we're going to make some cuts and fast forward and all that stuff here, so it's going to move a lot quicker.
So step on. And yet, despite this obvious pedigree, I still don't like to call myself a gamer.
There it is. Gamers are over.
Because that word seems less associated with video games and more associated with being a dick on the internet. In fact, Google literally autocompletes the word gamer to Gamergate, which was an internet harassment campaign with ties to white supremacy groups.
Okay, he just went off the deep end here. For the most part, Gamergate is a bunch of people who are really pissed off that game journalists don't represent them. I know this because I've studied Gamergate for the better part of a year now. One of Gamergate's more popular figures was Oliver Campbell, who's an African-American man. From my extensive survey of Gamergate in early 2016, I found Gamergate supporters representing over 40 countries. They came in all colors, sexual orientations, genders, and ages. To say that they have ties to white supremacy is deeply dishonest, and it's totally misleading.
I can also tell you anecdotally that writing about video games attracts way more internet hate than writing about anything else.
Could it have anything to do with you arguing against video game violence, even though there's no reason to worry about it causing harm? Or perhaps misrepresenting a whole bunch of gamers as having ties to white supremacists? I don't know, just a thought.
Compare the comments under a "this movie is sexist" article to the "this video game is sexist" article on literally any website, and you'll see the difference. Also, everybody knows this.
And here he cites Arthur Chu, who has actually argued that the internet should be censored. Like, not even ironically, he actually wants the internet to be censored.
Even Reddit. At a certain point, that's not a coincidence. And that certain point was 6 years ago when people started advertising to us using our inability to control our temper as their gimmick. Anyway, games. Mostly about killing. Gamers. Mostly mad all the time. Maybe a link. Not a crazy idea. So here's our opportunity to be better than most professional sports and tackle an obvious problem head on before anybody gets hurt. We don't actually care about story.
Okay, in the interest of not going on forever, I'm going to snip this part out. It's just a dumb argument that gamers don't care about story. He totally ignores the fact that he just spoke about how much he cared about Minsk and Boo, which are just 2 characters in a story. He ignores that there are games out there like Planescape Torment, which is considered by many to be the best game of all time, almost entirely because of its story. Now, it's true that some gamers don't care about story, just want to play. Other gamers are all about the story. It's almost like different people are able to like different things. Weird.
Gameplay, that means we don't actually care if games are art or not.
Oh god, here's that old stupid tired question of whether video games are art. I mean, he is right. I don't care. I don't care at all. Is Van Gogh's Starry Night art? Yeah, of course it is, but I don't care if it is or not. All I care about is that it's nice to look at. It's the same with games for me. Who cares if they're art? Is a game fun? Is it beautiful? Was the music good? Did it make you think? Were you able to play it in high def at 60 FPS, or are you a console peasant? These are the important questions.
Look, if we really cared about art, we wouldn't have reacted to Mass Effect 3's ending by demanding that they patch it in a way that lets us fulfill our power fantasy.
This guy fits the perfect mold of a cliched game journalist.
Video games are not relaxing. When you talk to people about video games and bring up the stuff I've brought up, the violence, the lack of attention to story, the argument often becomes that they are a stress reliever. They're relaxing. You feel pent-up rage and then you play video games and you feel relaxed. The truth is, that's not how anger, stress relief, or relaxation work.
Jeff Sargent, a writer for Cracked and maker of funny, dumb videos, apparently knows how anger, stress relief, and anger management works.
When you indulge in a violent video game fantasy, you're stimulating your brain but not your body in such a way that it not only exacerbates the frustration and anger, but associates frustration and anger with aggression in a way that is unhealthy in the long term because aggression is unhealthy.
Where's your proof? Where is it? Show me. Show me!
Look, I know the research is conflicted.
If you know it's conflicted, why did you just present that statement as fact?
And yes, I know who Craig Anderson and Christopher Ferguson are. If you don't Google it, it's boring. But if you put that aside, then you already know the truth.
If you put that aside, then you already know the truth. Just put any of that bothersome evidence and those conflicting reports aside because you know, and that's what's important. If you're currently in college, I dare you to write that on a research paper and see what the professor says. If you do, I promise I'll feature it on my website. I'd love to see it. Let me know.
So let's just be honest. Games can be exciting, exhilarating, and infuriating, but they're not relaxing.
Alright, I'm going to end the video there. Now, one of the most important aspects of persuasive writing, or in this case persuasive YouTubing, is to convince your audience why they should care. This guy failed miserably. I don't care whether video games are relaxing or not. It doesn't matter. I'm sure some find them relaxing and others don't. Who cares? His entire video is a farce of cliche game journalism, and it's really a microcosm of the problems a whole lot of people are having with gaming and new media these days. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there who say I shouldn't be giving him attention, but I think it's important to point and laugh when people like this make poorly substantiated, incoherent arguments. You'll notice how he said all of these problems in gaming are the fault of gamers and not of publishers or developers or the media that covers them. It's the gamers who watch his videos that are his product, not his audience. As always, we have to demand better, and we have to support those out there who do put in good work. Thank you, everyone, for watching. This was my first video of this type, so I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, and leave a comment. Let me know if you want any changes, and I'll see you next time. Take care.